You got to live. You got to live. You know, you got to say, listen, if I'm going to be here, I want to be here where I can enjoy myself, where I can move, and I've got my mental faculties, where joy is ringing in me. Well, if they ask me, you ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready to go. Just tell me when and where, and I'm there. I mean, I don't know whether you all saw Pastor Render, on New Year's Eve. Oh, my goodness. I'm like, you're talking about energy? My goodness, you couldn't do that in your 60s, but no, not back in the day. I'm like, this girl was channeling a teenager spirit. My goodness, I'm just telling you. So it depends on where you are. It depends on where you are that you have to, what you're doing right now prepares you for where you're going and how you want to be. See, there's an internal perspective of life, and that's how you see things to you. Narcissistic people only look at life through the internal view. But life is more than an internal view. There's also an external view. How my actions affect other people, how I fit into the social norms of the world that's around me, how I conform to the norms of the tribe. That's an external view. And then there is an eternal view. How does this fit into the scheme of things from the perspective of the kingdom of God? God is eternal. Time does not affect him. And he will always win at the waiting game because God is an eternal God. So there is an eternal perspective, an internal perspective, an external perspective, but also an eternal perspective. And it is good to look at things oftentimes from a temporal perspective, where things are temporary. You know why? Because all temptation is temporary. Just think about that for a moment. Whatever you're tempted to do, it's temporary. If you can breathe deeply and put your mind in another place, the temptation will pass. I don't care whether you're struggling with drugs, alcohol, sex, pornography, whatever. The temptation to do it is temporary. The temptation to do it, the temptation for fried chicken and pound cake is temporary. You on a diet? I mean, if you can just hold yourself and get you an apple and some carrot sticks and celery sticks. It's not exactly like the crunch of biting into fried chicken, you know. But the point of the matter is that temptation is temporary. Temptation is temporary. That means it will pass. It will not last. It will pass. All of your temptation will pass. The temptation to get with somebody sexually, it will pass. If you occupy your mind, occupy till I come, occupy till I come. The temptation is temporary. It will pass. It will pass. The temptation for the cigarette, it will pass. If you can find a way to occupy your mind, the temptation will pass. It's temporary. And think about this. The temporal perspective says that it asks this question: is what I'm arguing about right now really worth my losing my peace and my joy over? Because you'll have an argument with your spouse because they move your comb, your brush, or you couldn't find the butter in the refrigerator. And like, now, where do you put the butter? Now, you know I like butter on my bread. And you got a whole argument because they move your favorite cup. And just ask yourself, would this matter to me 1 year from today? Would this matter 1 year from today? Would this matter 5 years from today? And if it's not going to matter a year from now, and if it's not going to matter 5 years from now, it's temporal. And that means it is not worth your losing your peace of mind and losing your joy and nearly losing your salvation, because next year at this time, you're not even going to remember what you were arguing about today. Because this shirt wasn't dirty, and they had taken your shirt and put it over the dirty clothes because you're going to wear it again. You do realize men and women are totally different. A woman wakes up in the morning and she says, I have nothing to wear. The man says, I have nothing to wear. But when a woman says, I have nothing to wear, she means I don't have anything new to wear. But when a brother says, I don't have anything to wear, he means I ain't got nothing clean to wear. but it's temporal. It is temporal. Just realize that whatever I'm dealing with right now, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. There's somebody that's trying to damage your reputation. Somebody's trying to kill your spirit. Somebody that's trying to beat you out of the promotion. But this too shall pass. And you know, whatever it is that if you might have been denied from a loan approval or whatever it is, this too shall pass. Don't let the current condition of where you are become an eternal thing in your life. A problem is that which can be solved. A fact of life is that which must be accepted. If you can solve it, it's not a problem. It's a fact of, it is a problem if you can solve it. But problems are there to be solved. You grow, you develop, and you solve the problem and you move on. So you ask yourself, I'm looking through this as a temporal thing. It's because every problem is temporal. No problem lasts forever. No problem lasts forever. No problem lasts forever. You got a problem with a son or daughter? No problem lasts forever, because one day they're going to get out of your house. No problem lasts forever. No problem lasts forever. It might be a problem, but if you got a back that's been hurting for a number of years, a leg that's been giving you some trouble, you learn to live with it. It no longer stops you. You got to learn how to hurt and keep on moving. That, you know, I realize that there's some stuff that's trying to set me back in life right now, but I'm going to feel the pain, but I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to feel the pain, and I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to feel the pain, and just because you're there doesn't mean that you're not hurting, but it means that I've got a purpose that is bigger than my pain. And when you got a purpose that is bigger than your pain, your purpose will empower you. Something on the inside of you will say, Lord, I don't know whether I'm going to make it or not, but I'm going to go in faith today. I'm going to do this thing. Jesus, I got to go. I got to go. Lord Jesus, come on with me. And God, if he doesn't heal you right in that moment, he will come into your pain and give you the power to press. He'll give you pressing. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Where you had to press and you were hurting, you were going through, it was difficult, it was not easy. You were not feeling like you were blessed and highly favored of the Lord, but you kept on going anyhow. You kept on praying. You kept on believing. You were sleepy. You didn't feel like it, but you did it anyhow. That's what I'm talking about. When the pressure on the inside is greater than the pressure on the outside, you're not going to let what's hurting exteriorly, what's hurting in your legs and your hips and in your stomach and in your back, stop you when you are driven by a power of God that says you got to do this if you're going to have joy unspeakable and full of glory. There's something that when this thing possesses you, you do it because God is drawing you by the Spirit on the inside. You see, the spirit of a man can sustain you in your infirmity when you walk with the strength on the inside that even though I'm hurting, I'm still moving, I'm still going. Because I understand, God, I can't let a temporary thing stop me from a purpose that is eternal. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. My days are numbered. Jesus' days on the earth were numbered. He says, yet a few days, and you will see the Son of Man no more. Because he knew that his days were numbered. Every one of these steps that I take has a number, taking me closer to my grave. Every one of your steps has a number, taking you closer to your grave. Take a look at this little video.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
That's how time impacts us. My question to you is, what do you need to work on this week? What do you need to work on this week to maximize your days, to really make it count? Because you almost spend a third of your life in the bed sleep. What are you going to do in your waking hours? What are you going to do? Tyler Jack Harris said that you came into this world full of potential, but without action, you'll leave each day empty-handed. You got to have action. You got to have action. And listen, you don't get anything done until you schedule it. Whatever that is that you really want to maximize your day, put it in your schedule. Put it in your schedule. You want to have a time of personal growth, put it in your schedule. Have you ever seen people say that, hey, girl, we need to get together? And she said, you're right. And then they depart and they still never get together. You know why? Because they don't schedule it. You got to say, we need to get together Friday morning for breakfast, 7:30, it's going to be on me. And you tell them where it's going to be. Schedule it, and you plan for it to happen. Whatever you plan to happen, you put it in your schedule. You schedule it to happen, schedule it to happen, schedule it. Look at somebody that says schedule it. Schedule. There are certain things that will never happen to you. If you want to improve your mind, if you want to improve your body, schedule it. When are you going to the gym? Schedule it. Schedule it. Schedule it. When are you going to learn a foreign language? Schedule it. When are you going to travel and take your dream vacation? Schedule it. Schedule it. Schedule it. Pay for the plane tickets. Put the deposit and reserve the hotel. I bet if you pay for it, you'll take it. You will take it. You will take it. I love this thing as you grow and mature in life. You begin to make better decisions because your emotional state is better. A Stanford study published in Psychology and Aging said that as we grow older, we tend to become more emotionally stable, and that translates into longer, more productive lives that offer more benefits than problems. That's good news. That's good news. Now, I want you to notice Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 in the New Living Translation. It says, then God said, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. Now, here's what I want you to get from that. From the beginning, God wanted us to be aware of the passage of time. From the beginning, God wanted us to be aware of the passage of time, that time was passing by. He put the sun and the moon there, and he said, let these be signs to mark the seasons, the days, and the years. Please understand this. Time is a marker for events. Time is a marker for events. Time is a marker for events. Whenever you have something to do, now you notice time. But if you don't have anything to do, you lose track of time. That's why retired people who don't have anything on their minds, they wake up and they say, what day is it today? Tuesday, this Saturday? What? They don't know what day it is. But I bet you know what day it is if you said, you know what, I'm going to play bingo on Friday night. Yeah, I'm going to play bridge on Friday night. At 8 o'clock, I got a game. We got a game, and they're gonna pick me up on Tuesday. You'll be talking about what you're gonna do on Friday, because that's an event. And now it makes sense because you said, you know what, I'm going to visit my daughter on next Tuesday. And now it builds excitement in you because you have an event that is scheduled. And now you start counting the days down. You ever notice how kids do around Christmas? They start doing a countdown. We got 21 more days to Christmas. We got 18 more days to Christmas. Next week this time it's going to be Christmas. They start counting down because it's an event. Time is a marker for events. But if you have nothing to do, time means nothing to you. Means nothing to you. And this is why Moses is praying. He says, God, teach us to number our days so we can apply our hearts to wisdom. There's the Latin phrase carpe diem, which translates as seize the day. It was first used by the Roman poet Horace. And he used that to express the idea that one should enjoy life while one can. But carpe diem means different things to different people. For some, it means to begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Then carpe diem also means, for some, it means to enjoy the present and not worry about the future. In other words, to just live in the present. And yet for others, it means to make the most of the day by achieving fulfillment in a spiritual or philosophical way. It means to attack the day with vigor and purpose. To attack the day with vigor and purpose. To seize the day. To seize means to take by force. It means that you're going to live intentionally, not by happenstance and just let life happen to you. You have to intentionally do some things. Life does not merely happen to you. Life responds to you. Life responds to you. Life responds to you. When you sow good seeds, you reap good deeds. Life responds to you. When you're kind to others, you'll find favor coming back into your life. Life responds to you. You smile at people, most people will smile back. You're going to always find some grumpy folks, you know. But most people, if you smile at people, most people will return the smile because life responds to you. Just think about it. If you sow seeds for corn or peas or squash or tomatoes, the earth is going to respond in kind in terms of its harvest. You reap what you sow, not what you intended to sow. You reap what you sow because life responds to you. It doesn't just happen. Life responds to you. And that's why even if you are dealing with a negative situation, respond in a positive way because then life responds to you. Here's some keys you have to discover. Discover the possibilities that are there. Read books and articles and see other people who have made a difference in the world and how they made the difference in the world. And discover what the world needs. Discover what God has called you to do. You have to discover. The first period of your life is spent in discovery. Discovery of the possibilities, the opportunities, and what is the will and call of God, His purpose for my life. Discover. Then secondly, decide. You have to decide what God has already. You decide that I'm going to come into alignment and agreement with what God has already decided for me. Because that's what discovery is. Discovery is about discovering what God has decided. And then we decide to agree with it. Decide that you will be a difference maker. Decide who your team will be. Decide when you will launch into action. Make that decision. Then here's the third thing, develop. You got to develop a plan of what needs to be done. I cannot tell you how many dreams have gone unfulfilled because they never developed the plan. Yeah, man, I want to do this. I'm going to make a whole lot of money. But they never developed a plan. A plan has to be specific. A plan is going to be the detail of those actions that you are going to lay out, that this is what I'm going to do. I want to start my business. I've got to file with the Secretary of State. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to get me a board. You got to make some things happen. You have to plan it to happen. You have to develop the plan of what needs to be done. Develop the skills that are necessary for you to be more effective. Develop the team that you're going to need to help you. You have to develop. Discover what the possibilities are. Decide, who the team is going to be, who's going to be with you, when you're going to launch into action. Develop the strategy. And then number 4, deploy. Deploy your energy. Deploy your strategy. Deploy your team. You have to put these things, you have to execute. That's the execution. That's pulling the trigger. Once you find the target, discover the target, and decide I want to hit that target, then you develop the skills to be able to have mastery at your archery. You develop the skills and then you deploy the arrow. You got to release the arrow. Because what good does it do to identify the target? You've already identified it. You decided that I want to hit the target. And then you've developed the skill to be able to hit it, and you never pull the bow back and release the arrow. You have to deploy it. You have to execute it. As you maximize your days, you have to learn to put the important stuff first. Take a look at this video.
This is your life. Looks pretty full, doesn't it? That's because it is. It's full of all the things you'd be incomplete without. Love, family, food, water, health, your parents, your passions. With all of these things, you could have nothing else and still lead a full life. But even with all of this, you'll still have some space to fit more things. Smaller things. This is your job, your car, your house, money. Things that are still important. But if you took them all away, your life would still be full. If you're watching this video, that means you're lucky enough to have at least some of these things. But if you're really lucky, and many of us are, you'll still have some space left over. These are the really small things. Watching a movie, playing a video game, sports, ice cream. Things that make your life that little bit nicer, but things that are really just trivial in the end. If you wanted, you could try to put these things first, wasting your time in front of the television or the computer, playing games, or whatever it might be. You could follow it up with the material things, money, cars, houses, clothes. But then when it comes time to try to fit in all the important things, you run out of space. Some things will have to be left out, and nobody wants that. So keep that in mind as you go through life. Put the really important things first, and then find space for the rest. If you run out, it really won't matter anyways. It's just the small stuff.
One understanding of success is learning to do first things first. First things first. What should you be giving priority to? What should you be giving priority to? And here's the deal. Your priorities reveal your values. Your priorities reveal your values. Whatever you value is what you will always make time for. If people value playing video games, they're going to make time for that. Whatever is of value to them, they make time for whatever they value. And of course, some of your time has to be carved out for just self-care. Self-care is not the same as being selfish. Because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will. You have to learn how to take some time to take care of you, and that's not being selfish. That's called self-care. That's self-care. It's very important. And remember the carpe diem, that how you have to seize the moment. You have to give vigor to the purposes of God that are in your life. But there are some moments that are very unpleasant. And when those moments come, I turn to a great philosopher, Cookie Monster. He says, today me will live in the moment unless it's unpleasant, in which case me will eat a cookie. I just love deep philosophers. Sometimes when you get stressed out, you don't need deep, you just need a cookie. And if it's real deep stress, you need cookies and ice cream. And I'm just telling you, whatever you're dealing with, cookie and ice cream, you'll feel better. You will feel better. They don't ask me about your cholesterol level, but you will feel better in the moment. Carpe diem, you're talking about seizing the moment. I'm just telling you, you know, carpe diem. Carpe diem, seize that moment, seize that moment. But I want to encourage you, don't wind up chasing the wrong things in life. Don't wind up chasing the wrong things in life. Decide what matters. Decide what matters, and then do what matters, and then deliver to others what matters. You decide what matters for you, and then do what matters, and then you deliver to others what matters. There are certain things that matter deeply to me. God matters deeply to me. His purposes for my life, God. Health matters deeply to me, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. Health matters to me. Family matters deeply to me. Friends matter deeply to me. Peace matters deeply to me. What good does it do to have things and then your peace is robbed? to not have peace of mind, to have a nice home, but then you're stressed out about the payments. Peace is more valuable to me. Peace is so much more valuable. And I just want you to realize that it is time to wake up and to evaluate your life and to make some meaningful changes. Just to wake up, evaluate your life, and make some meaningful changes. Why were you born? What has God called you to do? What are you doing with what you have been given? And what would you do with your life if money were no object and you knew that you could not fail? What would you do? Ask yourself some questions. You see, this message hopefully will serve to you as a wake-up call. I pray that the brevity of your days does not frighten you, but that it awakens you to say that I don't have forever here on the earth, and I want to maximize my days. I want to make sure that I get in everything that I intend to get in, that I want to live a full life. I want to be fruitful in my life. I want to fulfill this thing, because one day you will have to give an account to God over what you did with what God gave you. To whom much is given, much is also required. To whom much is given, much is also required. To whom much is given, much is also required. So when God has given you something, you have a responsibility before God. I love the statement by my friend Dr. John Edmund Haggai, and he just celebrated his 95th birthday, still alive and well in his mind, and he's just made this statement: attempt something so great for God that it is doomed to fail except God be in it. Dream big for God. Attempt something so big. Dream something. Imagine something. Reinvent something. Explore some possibilities. But dream something. Attempt something so big for God that it is doomed to fail, except God be in it. And start maximizing your day to say, how do I align the activities of my day to be in line with where I'm going in life, so that I can get more out of the life that God has given me. I've got one life to live. I've got one life to live. I've got one life to live, God, down here on this earth, and that's limited. Teach us, O Lord. Moses is praying, God, teach us to number our days so that we can use the time that we have wisely, so that we don't foolishly let time pass us by and we wake up as an old person and wonder, where did the time go? And what do I have to show for the time that God gave me here on the earth? It's time now for us to say, God, help me to maximize my days, to maximize my days.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.